Good morning and welcome back to the Red Mic. Happy Wednesday. Glad you're here. Today's Red Mic message is, well, it's extremely personal. And if I've if this is repeating anything I've said before, I apologize. But popped up in my Facebook memories and decided to go for it. Um, Coaching isn't just about wins and losses. It's about it. It's more than just the championships and trophies. And I've coached championship teams, or a championship team. It's about the long term impact, the life of the lessons that you pass on that go beyond the practice field, the gridiron, or the baseball diamond, or whatever it is. Back in 2016, one of my former players, a really small, scrappy kid, pound for pound, easily the best kid I ever coached. I mean, if his if his stature had lived up to his drive, his determination, um, he he'd still be playing today. I think, at least on the college level. Well, he had won his team's Heart Award, and he was a starter. He started for me. He started for. I mean, think of him as a little little Bill Bates basically. Um, he had won his team's Heart Award, and I was there. He was on my son's team, and and I had coached this kid on and off since he was 6. And he was never the biggest, never the fastest, but he never quit. I mean, refused. And that's the kind of player I always rooted for. After the ceremony, he wanted to have his picture taken with me. He said, and he said this, and I'm going to try not to choke up talking about this because it's still. He said, I've always remembered what you always told me. He said, it doesn't matter how big you are if you have heart. And that's why I coached. Those kind of lessons, living beyond, I mean, your time on the field with them. It's not about building football players. It's about building better people. It's about building young men. And then I'd posted about this on Facebook, and his aunt, um, who I'm friends with, she said that he had told her that I'd always be his favorite coach, and that meant more to me than any championship ring ever could. And I know what it's like to be that kid. I was nowhere near as scrappy as he was, but I know how it was like to fight through the odds, have the game you love just beat you down sometimes. 1986, my senior year, I almost quit football. I had finally broken through. I had gotten a starting role. I was our starting center. And then in one play, it all changed. I had a really bad neck injury. It was a hyperextension where my neck went way far back. And they told me if it had gone much further, I probably would have broken my neck. Um, the injury itself wasn't that bad. It was just the description and the how close I came that was frightening. I was sidelined for about a week, and I thought surely when I get back I'll be able to. I'm not going to immediately get my starting position back, but I knew I would get. I just knew I'd get to fight for it to hopefully re-earn it. Well, I came back and couldn't sniff the field after that. I mean, I was anchored to the sideline, and it was frustrating because I felt like I didn't feel like it was fair, and I almost quit. But just as I was thinking about it, my coach talked to me one day after practice. He said, "I want you to know that your injury scared me." He said, "I benched you because you don't need football to be a success." He said, "I don't want you to get hurt out here and have it ruin your life in any way." And I didn't understand it at the time. I really didn't. I thought, he's taking it away from me. I've been playing since I was 7, I think. And I was mad. My pride was, and I still almost quit, but I stuck it out. And then the season-ending banquet came around, and I didn't want to go. I mean, we had a great season. We made it to the quarterfinals, but my dad made me go. He said, "No, you're part of the team." He said, "The season's not over until that banquet's over, and you're going." And I'm glad he did because I received what they called, my high school doesn't exist anymore, but it was called the Coyote Spirit Award. And Joe Bob Tyler, with that, I believe he and the other coaches said, "Hey, we see you, we see your heart, we saw the effort, we saw maybe the leadership qualities, the amount of fight in the dog." Um, Even though I spent most of the season, because this injury happened between weeks 2 and 3, even though I spent most of the season feeling like I had just been cast aside, I'm not going to say that award made it all better, but it did make me feel a lot better about the way the season ended up for me. It took me a long time to figure out Joe Bob wasn't punishing me. He was protecting me. He really was. He saw something in me that would go beyond football, and he was convinced I had more to give in life, in leadership, beyond the field. And I try to live up to that every day. I really do. Football is a brutal, unforgiving game. It's the kind of game that can break you if you let it. But it's also the kind of game that can teach you a lot about who you are. The players who succeed on the field, in life, they're not always the biggest, the strongest, the fastest. Sometimes they are the ones who have more heart, the ones that don't want to quit, the ones that keep pushing no matter what the odds are. You've heard me say this before. It's the ones who get knocked down and can get back up again. Thank you, Rocky. Thank you, Shane Falco. Yeah, miles and miles of heart. It's a Gene Hackman line from The Replacements. Not my favorite line from that movie. My favorite line from that movie, of course, is "Pain heals, chicks dig scars, glory lasts forever." My 8-year-old, who's now a 20-something-year-old, he once parroted that back to me on the football field. Anyway, um, all of that's why I told that kid, and I'll say his name. His name's Dakota. Great kid. I always told him it doesn't matter how big you are as long as you have heart. Uh, that's the same reason Joe Bob told me you don't need football to be a success. I'm grateful to my dad for making me go to that banquet. If I'd found out that my name was etched on that trophy and I wasn't there, I would have felt awful. Um, Sometimes the biggest lessons you can learn from football or from life, they come when you don't expect them. Coaching or even leadership in the business field. It's not about teaching how to run a play. I mean, yeah, that's part of it, but it's it's those life lessons that matter. I say it every day. These are leadership and life lessons from my 25 years as a public servant, 16 years as a youth football coach and scouting volunteer, and 10 years as a mediocre athlete with far more heart than actual physical ability. So, in all of this, my career, my volunteer work, my time as a football player, if I if I passed on lessons, if I imparted wisdom that made these players believe in themselves a little bit more than they did when they walked on that field or walked into my office, then it's all worth it. So why don't you try to do the same? Try to have an impact beyond where you are, whether it's a volunteer role, whether it's a business opportunity, whatever it is. Try to be the type of coach, the type of leader that they're still going to be thinking about, for the good reasons, years down the road. And that's today's Red Mike message. I hope you found it interesting or inspiring, even. Um, if you know Dakota, tell him I think about him all the time. And he's not the only small, scrappy kid I coached. There was a kid named Steve Wolf up in Wichita Falls. Just a just an amazing kid. You know, about and I think when he played, he was like 5'5", 5'6", but he played in high school and he was a monster. Those are the kind of kids that, well, I miss all my kids, but I really miss watching the ones that just left it all on the field. So thanks again for being here. Please give me a like, a follow, and a share, no matter what platform you're on. I appreciate you very much. I'll see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow, strictly business, I promise. I'm going to be talking, I think, about a thing I picked up called the STAR method. I wish I'd invented it, but I am more than happy to dust it off and use it for my own purposes and tell you all about it. So I'll see you again tomorrow. Don't forget, as always, life is short. Drink the bourbon.